Hmm. Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. Ooh, excuse me. It is RPG with DBJ, and we are continuing our deep dive into the characters from Avengers. Something's wrong with my camera. I'm going to get it to zoom in here a little bit. Sorry about that. There we go. That makes a lot more sense. All right. So, on our path down towards end game. I was about to say our end to end game, which I guess is the thing. 22 movies in, we get to see the Avengers, and after their titanic battle with Thanos, who won, we get to see the outcome coming up pretty soon. So I thought we could take each Avenger or characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and kind of figure out what can we learn from those characters for our own role-playing games. And it doesn't matter what time period it is. It doesn't even matter if you even like the character or not. There are things that we can learn from our own pop culture and insert those elements into our game. Now, the timing's a little bad because yesterday the tickets went on sale for Endgame, and apparently it like shut down the internet or something. I heard, kind of, sort of. So, but that being the case, today I was like, okay, well, I ended up scheduling a character that everyone's just like, really? And that character is Scarlet Witch. And it's like, a little bit of like a Scarlet Witch. Like, couldn't you have picked like a more exciting character, especially for the day that I'm presuming the last Avengers trailer comes out. I'm sure there'll be TV spots, but yeah, the last Avengers trailer. Well, yeah, but okay, whatever. That's my bad. So believe you me, we will find something out. Normally, I don't write notes. I don't come up with things, but I also know that once we hit one little thread, I'm sure we're going to pull in a ton of other threads and come out with I don't know. We'll knit ourselves a sweater. Bad analogy there. As everyone says, 22 Marvel movies. No one at DC apparently thinks people want to see Static Shock. Well, I have to say that I think DC's approach now and some of the approach I think some other creators using the intellectual properties, I think, are actually being smarter by not using A-list characters, because there's too much to compare them to. When you start going down the list of characters that are less well known, like Guardians of the Galaxy and Shazam and such, that although we know of the names, most of us have like zero idea like how to portray that character. And so the less we know as fanboys and girls how that character should be portrayed, the far easier it is, I think it is, to write stories around them. Because then when you start changing things, everyone just kind of shrugs their shoulders and it's like, yeah, I don't care if you change something about Blue Beetle, or I don't care if you change something about, Booster Gold or something. And on the Marvel side, it's like, well, I don't know. There was who's an unknown character like Paladin or Silver Sable, or no one really does. Anyone really care if those characters have been changed around? Not really, because most of us are like, wasn't really interested in them in the first place. And I believe that opens up creative doors. We're getting a Joker movie before Static Shock with Joaquin Phoenix. Before Static Shock. Billy goddamn Batson. Yeah, I know. I hear you, man. I hear you. I think with the success of maybe the animated side, fingers crossed that Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse, my childhood hurts. I know they keep kicking you in the feels. It's just like, no, stop it. They pick one of my characters. I know. Well, I wouldn't put it past them though. I wouldn't put it past them. All right. So Scarlet Witch. Oh, wow. All right. So let's just do a little bit of a rundown, a little slight summary of the character. All right. So Scarlet Witch. Uh, Shazam was pretty cool though, but only with the show. But only with the show, yeah, yeah. So here we go. I haven't seen it yet. Oh man, I got to get my geek card back. Okay, so Scarlet Witch is a character that has literally undergone a ton of changes in explanation. So, in summary, Scarlet Witch was born as a mutant who had a special like hex power that allowed her to, I don't know, do things, because in her history sometimes she's been described as having magical powers, being a young mutant born with magical powers, and at other times she was born with psychic powers, and then yet another time she could change reality. And there are different iterations where she's only magic. She learned magic, but she also has this other mutant ability, and vice versa, and such. She has a muddled background and has been written and rewritten plenty of times, mainly because she was a B or C list level character, except when used as a MacGuffin to create bigger and better stories. Yeah, Zevron says she's an embodiment of chaos in most cases, or a reality warper. Exactly. And so one of the biggest storylines that she's ever caused was a storyline called the House of M. And it was there was a prelude to it, because of course she has a relationship with, she's most famous for having a relationship with the android Vision, which in the movies we really don't question it too much, but if you look a little bit too closely, you're like, she's in love with a machine. That's kind of weird. But on one hand, he represents everything that is lawful and order, and she represents everything that is chaos, i.e. they came together. um yeah, and Zerbo says in House of M she gave and then took away a lot of mutant powers. Yes. And but the prelude to that was she had children with Vision, and they let that storyline ride until one moment when she walks out of a door and her children disappear, i.e. she warped reality to create her children. And there's no way Vision, the android, and her could ever have children together. That was just part of her imagination, i.e. she warped reality to make it happen. And in a certain way that kind of drove her insane. And then in the House of M storyline, she basically in a weird way, I don't want to say she snapped her fingers, that's not exactly how it happened, but she wished away, mutant kind and humanity, and then created this whole new timeline and such. So long story short, it's like, what am I getting at? Well, even in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, she really only has two powers. She can move things with her mind, like telekinetically, and she can unlock dark uh, the dreams and horrors in other people's minds. And Zevron says she screams, "No more mutants!" Exactly. So, what can we take from her? Well, sure, we could absolutely make her up as a PC. She's got telekinetic powers, and you could reskin anything in any, make her up as a wizard if you wish, or make her up with psionic abilities, whether it's modern day or far future. And Rickard says, didn't she in the MCU show some mind control abilities? Somewhat mind affecting abilities, and even in the MCU, she really didn't quite have control over them. And you realize that she's far more powerful than you thought she was, but all of that was tied into her emotional state. So while some complain that she didn't display the kind of power she had when she was first introduced, by the time she was in Infinity War, I contend that she was always that powerful. It was just that a Vision was being threatened, and she needed to kick some ass at that time. So I think that's really what it was. So yes, she did. She basically can move things with her mind, and I guess she could unlock things and move physical objects with her mind and unlock the mental state in other people. As everyone said, you could quite easily make her a wild magic sorcerer, a being trying to learn couldn't don't understand learn that and how to use her magic. Oh yes, 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 I absolutely agree with you that like a wild magic sorcerer is probably the first thing that comes to mind. um you could also, even though this doesn't quite get the chaos of it, um you could make her a lower level character, and just have like when it comes to like bonds and flaws and things like that, and just allow work with the dungeon master or game master and say, hey, listen, my abilities kind of run wild a little bit, so when I fail in my magical attempts, sometimes my magic gets out of control, and then let the player and the DM and maybe even the other players work together as to how things go out of control. Like, hey, I cast a burning hand spell and the fire keeps pouring out of my fingers and I can't stop it or something. Or I go to use I don't know, uh, mage hand spell to use my telekinetic ability, but I accidentally break or shatter something or what have you. Uh, hmm, excuse me. Scarlet Witch is one of the few Omega God tier level mutants in Marvel that is typically on the source of good, or and on the side of good as well. Yes, she is, and so I think she makes a better MacGuffin. Right? I think she makes a better tool to use whenever you really want to twist your storyline. The fact that here's this character who exists that can warp reality, maybe sending the players to another dimension, or changing time, or summoning something from a faraway place, or severely affecting someone's mind by accident or even on purpose. She makes a great unfortunately, she makes a great damsel in distress, in a sense of being used by others, that people want to capture her and use her for some other nefarious plans that someone has, or someone who's emotionally unstable at times, it, linking their emotional state to their abilities. So on a normal level, day-to-day basis, no, she's not that powerful. But as things happen that are traumatic, maybe there's a great war or a murder or an assassination or a plague or something, that her reaction to it, and thereby her link with her powers, maybe causes some kind of like story element to make something happen. Zevron says the fact she could break an infinity stone when these have been in exploding planets and weren't scratched by it, that says a lot about her powers. Don't forget, she did that at the same time as holding Thanos back. Sure, was he pushing against her powers and breaking through? Yeah, but had she turned her attention to one or the other, imagine what she could have done, right? I mean, even in that movie, Okoye looked back at her, was like, why wasn't she down here before? You know what I mean? So I think her, and mind you, we're trying to rip this character apart so we can use it in our story. Imagine if she's not the only one. Maybe there's a bloodline or a royal family or some tribal druidic type individuals out in the wild, or shipwrecked and living on an island by themselves, and her and or her family is brought back to civilization, and they've gotten in touch with this greater power. And so on one hand, she doesn't need to be punished for what she's doing, but on the other hand, there's this constant struggle to keep her in check, and while all at the same time utilizing her abilities or something. For example, what if the weather patterns that exist in this world have always been held in check by these extremely powerful Druidic tribes people, but one by one they're getting older, they're dying off, they're being hunted down, and as each one dies, the weather gets worse and worse. And it's like, whoa, so this is what's been causing everything to happen. So maybe on a daily basis, like there's hurricanes and heat waves and snowstorms and floods and lightning strikes and things like that. Would be kind of cool, especially if it's all about keeping her nice and calm. Zevron says maybe as an NPC, she's a conduit of power for a wizard's power. She conducted a ritual imbuing her with immense power against her will. She now spends the campaign growing her control and becomes an ally or maybe an enemy if the party an ally or maybe enemy if the part of the party depends on how they treat and help her. And in many ways, like the first X-Men movie was kind of like that. Magneto was using Rogue and imbued her with his power because, well, he wasn't going to die when her power, exploded inside of himself. He was going to use her to do it. So you're right. Maybe it is a point of contention where this powerful wizard, makes a link to an elemental plane or makes a pact with an outer world fiend and uses her as the bargaining chip or something, or like you said, imbues her with some sort of power that this enemy can draw upon to affect the world or do like a mass mind control or warp reality or something. And she's the conduit. She's the yes, I'm going to pull out another comic book reference. She's the talisman. She is the central point of like ley lines or something. So on one hand, she's quite capable and powerful enough to bring about some powerful magical effects. But on the other hand, she's also has a great limitation because maybe this big bad kind of can track her or use her or elicit some kind of energy surge from her that has a dramatic effect on the landscape or something. And in the comic books, even Scarlet Witch and her brother, more or less her brother Quicksilver, more than herself, but Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver have always been seen as allies and enemies multiple different times and belong to different factions because she's been an Avenger. Basically an honorary X-Men. She's been on different teams. She's been on different sides. She was basically, I would say that we have seen supervillains become heroes, but in the Marvel universe, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were kind of like that was their identity, right? They were the villains, and of course they were being manipulated by evil. Why don't you join us? And they become, heroes. So having her as an NPC, flipping back and forth by choice or by force would be kind of cool. Yeah. Zevron says in one story, she and her brother were romantically involved. No. Stop it. No. No. I don't I believe you, but I'm just like, oh man, no, please, yeah. And Ricker says, Game of Thrones is next week, Zev. Yeah. Oh man. Well, okay. Do we want to go down that path? Sure. Sure. We could draw parallels between Cersei and Jaime Lannister with that kind of thing. All right. I won't go there. Shoot, YouTube will be like, "What are you guys talking about? Our algorithms picked up you guys talking about incest." Yeah. Okay. But Zev actually continues on and says, Captain America pointed out it was weird and Wasp and other heroes were saying, get with the times, Cap. Oh man. Oh yeah. Listen, Zev Ron says I was just pointing out weird comic stuff. Hell, I know I'm squirreling on this, but does anybody remember? I remember reading the comics at the time when Captain Marvel, yes, our female superhero in the movie universe now, Captain Marvel was seduced, raped by a demon in another world. That demon gentleman impregnated her. She returns to this world, becomes pregnant and gives birth in basically a couple of days, if not hours, gives birth to a child, and that child grows into the demon person that ended up assaulting her. Yes, everyone says, "Oh God, yeah, Avengers 200." Yes, yeah, that's a storyline we don't want. That would never be brought to the movies. So you want to talk about deep and dark and like, oh, like really, comic books did that kind of thing? The answer is yes, yes. She was raped by a demon who she then gave birth to that very demon to come into this world. Yeah, no. As everyone says, they fixed that and had her scream at everyone for letting her go with her rapist. Yep, that is exactly right. And she was pissed off and left the story, left the team and the storylines for quite a while because of that event. And yeah, because God, yeah, yeah. I think once it hit the stands, I think maybe weeks later, those writers were like, "What the Stan Lee and the other editors are like, really? You did what? We let that go, guys. We're gonna have to come back and fix this some kind of way. We're gonna have to. This can't be something that we just ignore in the next issue. Like, oh well, yeah, no. So again, with the Scarlet Witch character, I mean, yeah. So everyone says, great way to celebrate an anniversary and appreciation of a hero. Oh shit, yeah. Oh man, while I get it that many of us want to have our best and brightest storylines done in live action, and there are plenty of great stories for a number of our favorite superheroes. There's probably 10 times as many storylines. We're just like, crossing our fingers, like, please don't ever let this see the light of day again. Clone Spider-Man, like, please don't ever let that see the light of day again. All, yeah. Zev says they could never do that storyline. No. I mean, yeah, they could never do that storyline. So Scarlet Witch, what does this have to do with Scarlet Witch? Well, what if, because you know me, let's get back on track. Scarlet Witch, right? So what can we learn from this? Well, maybe let's imagine this. Maybe, just maybe, this Scarlet Witch NPC has some of those. Maybe Scarlet Witch is someone whose darkest fears or desires or 7 deadly sins, what she thinks becomes reality in some way, shape, or form. And so while being pleasant and calm and on the good guy side, it's like, great. Oh, she's a great individual to have around. She's a great ally, and she's able to transport us to faraway realms and cast spells that protect the cities and allows plants to grow and creates a great harvest every year, or whatever that case may be. But what if she's taken away, and the big bad that imbued her with power is able to manipulate her so she goes to her darkest visions? And if you want to run a high fantasy but gritty game, so you have lots of high magic but at the same time it's kind of dark and sinister, maybe she does have a way of changing reality and maybe she does love her brother and wishes more men were like her brother, and then therefore she, in a weird course of events, her brother and her start having an attraction to each other, and everyone's just like, what the hell's going on? Why are people acting this way? And it could be that her ability spreads throughout the region, and keeping those abilities from spreading to other people. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily need to be one individual. It could be a bloodline, or these individuals were they weren't related, but they were affected by a dark ritual, or the volcanic island that their ship landed on a volcanic island, and before they were saved, they all went into the same cavern and were exposed to the same radiation / magic / uh, you know, dark power or something. And, and these individuals, the PCs slowly start to realize that they're the ones like, whoa, we thought the outside world was dangerous. They're just as dangerous too. Zevran says maybe she can trick herself into creating a new reality. She tries to deal with trauma by hiding from the truth. And as she continues, she grows violent in trying to ignore it. I love that. I love that because the stories could be almost, instead of dungeon delving, it could almost be exploring these dark impulses of this individual who basically doesn't want to see. All of us go through trauma of some sort during our lives. Even things as simple as stress from work, stress from the loss of friends and family, stress from just being sick or being picked on, or individuals that are affecting our economic status, like at work, who have certain opinions about us and such. And so imagine taking that and creating worlds about that. So yeah, as everyone says, an example in Pokemon the movie in 2000 gains power of a dream. Pokemon can warp reality. However, she wished she got a lady to think she was her dead mother. The Pokemon posed as her father. Ooh, wait a minute. When told her parents were gone, she grew violent, crystals exploding all around, warping the environment into a crystal flower structure. The movie becomes an exploration of dealing with loss, of her dealing with loss. And I think you could get very deep with that in terms of maybe this character does represent that. And it could be that it could just not only be her losses, but maybe she affects the losses of others. As everyone says, it is a Silent Hill movie, essentially. Oh, wait a minute. He can even go down the horror path with this too, because imagine if other people's horror, let's say there was a great war or something, and there's a lot of people suffering from trauma and losses in their life, and maybe there's some starvation and people are trying to rebuild, and just being in her proximity is creating this thing where people's losses are becoming reality, and that's where the player characters have to get involved in it. And sure, there might be what I'm going to say is a simple cure for it, but the damage may have already been done, and so maybe dozens or hundreds or even thousands of people have been affected by it, and their dark desires, their fears have become reality. And it's kind of like a cascading effect, like you guys mentioned in previous days, where one person fears something, that fear becomes reality. Other people fear that fear, and it makes that fear grow even stronger and more physical and more dangerous. So a fear of ghosts becomes a ghoul, and a ghoul becomes a white, and a white becomes a vampire lord, and a vampire lord becomes like a pit fiend or something. You know what I mean? Like, it could be that those creatures are growing stronger and stronger simply by virtue of someone bring them into existence in the first place. And that could be an issue. Now, the one limitation about us talking about this is you're absolutely positively going to have a player character who's like, well, why don't we just kill her, them, etc., right? Like, killing her would just stop the whole thing, so why not just do that? And that could be an answer, unless doing that would make things worse. Going back to the idea of them controlling the weather, like killing them might bring about far more destruction than we would want. So as Zev says, she makes others in the village seem fine and healthy to each other. A boy that lost his leg is made to believe his leg is fixed, though in actuality he's in a wheelchair and is being charmed to ignore the wheelchair. Ooh. Now, which darkness do you think you would want? The fact that it was never real in the first place, or she makes it real but only she's the one that makes it real in the first place, right? So either way, I think is really good, because if she's like almost, I don't want to say illusionist, but like she brings about such illusions that everybody feels that it's real. It could be the player characters are the ones that can pierce through it and they see the reality for what it is. People think they are strong and healthy and such, but the player characters see the villagers as being emaciated and like starving and diseased and injured and wounded. And the place, they think the place is pristine and glowing and white with ivory towers and gold filigree, but you really get there and it's like, feces is stacked in the corners and the streets are muddy and lined with, all you smell is like urine and all. It's like, oh no. And so that could be it, which I like that. And I also think the other idea of her warping reality to make things real. So there could, the idea of killing her might not be wanted, right? She made these people whole. They're no longer suffering from a plague. The wounded boy in the wheelchair really does have his leg back. The castle walls have been repaired. The evil goblinoid horde on the horizon really is staying away. But when she gets ill or sick or wounded or convinced to leave the town or manipulated to fall on the evil side, maybe all of her machinations go away. And so the city walls crumble in moments, and the boy that's running around and such, he falls over, and you find out that it was a fake leg this entire time and stuff like that. That'd be kind of sick too. Zev continues on and says, or maybe they're genuinely happy and just full of wounds from recent battles, and the witch tries her best to keep them to help them despite not having healing magic. I could see that. So she, excuse me. So you're saying like the village people, and we're saying village, town, city, doesn't matter how big it is, right? Depends on how much of a scope you want to go into. But she could be someone, like you said, they are generally happy and they just were wounded by a recent battle. Maybe the goblinoid horde did come through and ravage them, and her power is, it's like a pain reliever almost, where it's not that she's healing them, but she's preventing them from suffering so much from the scars of battle and psychological harm, maybe temporarily, but at least she's like a pacifying effect. So that could be a happy medium. So that, sure, over time, would they heal? Sure. And would it take multiple generations even to heal from this dangerous thing, this traumatic thing that happened to them? Sure. But with her around, it's like, yes, this traumatic thing happened, but at least maybe the people don't want to see the reality of it. That's a great idea too. Almost like a drug, really. The pacifying effect could really be her overlaying an illusion that people would prefer the illusion to the reality of what's going on. And while they know the reality, they're just like, you know what? I don't want to live this way. I would rather have the illusion, at least for now. And that could become addictive to people. And so she could be a living embodiment of an addiction for various people. The person who maybe she's allowed to make a king feel far more powerful than he really is. Bringing life and love and joy to people who don't have it in this brutal world, and it's her that's bringing it, and they love that. Rickard says she made them whole, but they are also whole because she wishes it. They are whatever she wishes them to be, so there might be an issue with free will. I like that. Who has the free will? She wishes them to be that way. They are that way. Therefore, they wished her to wish them to be that way, and you have this circle. The circle of free will, right? She grants them what they want. They are what she wants them to be, and so now they are in a position to demand what they want, and their demands are they want her to make them that way. Yeah, like, witch, do you got the recent spell? Come on, you know I'm good for it. Scratching herself, please. Ah. Just one more illusion spell. You got to just listen. All I'm asking, I've got some coin. All I'm asking for is an alter self spell. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. I don't need some phantasmal land around my home. You just change me now. But that would be really cool. Imagine if imagine if wow. Just one more, just one more cantrip, please. I got components. Reaching in their pockets, dropping stuff on the ground, hands shaking. I've got material components, please. Wow. Oh man. Okay, let's go even bigger with this. The entire game world, right? The monsters in it, from the lowly goblin to the giant Tarrasque and everything in between, was literally created by her or those like her, right? They could be not only fears from people, they could have actually been manipulated or changed or warped by individuals. Um, she she could have been she could be a powerful, and I'm going to say air quotes, drug lord that has cursed these people who couldn't pay up, and their curses they turned into like nagas and harpies and mutated giants, hill giants, and frost giants and stuff that live in the outskirts of humanity. And their reason for attacking cities is because either they want more of her power, or they want to be changed back into what they used to be, or anything in between. So that would be kind of strange. That'd be kind of cool. Everyone says any new viewers are going to be so goddamn confused. I hear you. Sometimes I wonder about that. Like if someone like flips onto some of these live streams that comes in the middle, and they're like, "What the hell are they talking about?" Zebra goes on to say, quote, "I thought this was about Scarlet Witch. What's this about Silent Hill, incest, and magic drug dealing?" Yeah, but that's the cool part about this. I think is just, I mean, hell, every damn time we get online, it's like it's basically an hour's worth of an idea you can steal, right? That's really what we're getting at. It's like, what, even from the most minor of things, what idea can we come up with? And that could be a thing. Imagine if her and her bloodline are like people in these city states. They don't even need to be the kings and queens. They could be the king and queen, king makers and queen makers, right? And so each city state, there could be a fire giant city state. There could be a Rakshasa city state. And I don't mean, of course, everyone's made up of those creatures. What I'm saying is that their power to grant wishes to other people, almost, and not direct wishes like she snaps her fingers and I wish for to be the richest person in the world. No, I mean, little by little she can transform people into their greatest desires or even their greatest fears. Someone could be afraid of the dark, and they can't pay up, so she changes them into a shadow, and that's why shadows are insane, or banshees are crazy, or lycanthropes are bloodlusty, because she's just like, look, go away. You don't serve me anymore, or it could be you don't serve the king or queen. Fine, king and queen says I gotta punish you, and like, no, please don't do it to me. And she just waves her hand, and maybe they have a fear of drowning, so then they drown in their sleep or something. They come back as like some kind of like a siren or something, forever drowning and forever wanting to drown others and whatnot. That'd be kind of nasty too, to bring about your greatest desire or your greatest fear, and trying to balance the two. And the player characters might be in a position where if they can just convince or subdue or what have you, these individuals that are doing this to bring about a great peace. And maybe 10 generations ago there was a great peace, but something has come along and manipulated these individuals, or manipulate their power, or there could even be a big bad who's been manipulating them in the first place. That'd be kind of weird. Zevron says maybe they have celestial, infernal, or elemental ancestry. The powers to warp reality relate to them being an Asimar, Tiefling, or Genasi. Ooh, yeah. They don't have to. They don't have to have the exact same abilities. They could just have a certain ancestry, and they came from this. Their ancestral bloodline is what has been creating and manipulating and spawning these other beings in this world. That'd be kind of sweet. Maybe the world never had any of these big bad enemies. There's never been really any big bad evil guys until it was them that caused it many generations ago. And so the only reason there even exists, for example, with the Genasi, maybe the only reason there even exists evil elemental forces and genies and Ifrit and like Jinn and Ifrit and such on this world is because of them. Bringing them here, or literally breeding them in a way, basically touching humanity, and then they breed these other creatures or something. That'd be kind of nasty. Zevron says the warping reality power would be planar magic that influences their very existence. Ooh. They open up portals to other worlds, maybe? And that it's almost I bring up the radiation, but it could be the act of opening or being a portal or being a conduit to these other realms, like you said, whether they're an Asimar to the celestial world, celestial outer world, or whether they're a tiefling to an infernal world, like you say. It could be something that spreads and lingers in the environment, or lingers on her flesh, or even lingers in, the more it's touched, the wider spread it becomes. So you could have these cities that are surrounded by some of the most wild and bizarre physical structures, floating cities surrounded in jungle, cities on top of the canopy of trees, cities underwater or something like that. That would be kind of cool. Zevron goes on to say their skin is almost pitch black or purple, like the night sky, with stars and constellations appearing over their skin, twinkling. Ooh, hell, they could even be. I'm going to bring this up because it's from another game. In the game Invisible Sun, there's a race of people called the Lacuna, and the Lacuna are humanoid-shaped apertures to other worlds. Like, they don't have a face or body. They just look like a humanoid body standing there, but they're literally just a portal to another world shaped like a human being. I mean, what a weird, that'd be kind of cool with, like, they have this, just looking into their flesh and their skin is like them reflecting the greater cosmos. And it is them, by touching the cosmos. For us, it's like changing our mind, but for them, it just warps reality around them and brings about things that could never happen in our world. But for them, it's no big deal. Zevron says that as they abuse their power, the stars brighten, tapping into their home realms. Oh, so each star could be related to another world. So it doesn't necessarily need to be, air quotes, another plane of existence, but each plane is another star. And as they use their powers, whether they, well, okay, let's pick another realm, like the realm of shadow, or the realm of radiant energy, or the element, the aligned planes of existence. And of course, a ton of other worlds maybe you make up on your own. That'd be sweet. It could be the only way they're even the only way those otherworldly beings can even get here is making deals with these people. The realm of Taco Tuesday. pretty popular place, I think, to eat. I'm a soft taco person myself, but I mean, if I have to default to, eating on a crunchy taco, sure, I'll do that. I'll do that. But imagine if they exist. Okay, follow me on this. We think of them as existing individually, but they really exist in multiple places at the same time. So while we're talking to them on our earthly realm, they are also doing the exact same thing on another world. And they could be these this Scarlet Witch modification. They could be a portal between worlds, and this is how beings are able to translate back and forth. So I could imagine a powerful wizard wants to summon an infernal fiend, but really the only way to do it is to have one of these individuals standing next to the wizard with their body, reflecting the cosmos in their skin, just being, you almost don't even know where their face is unless you're looking at them from profile. But when you look at them head on, you're just lost into this deep dark void that is their body, the way they're shaped. And of course, they are like the ultimate material component in a way. In order to cast maybe in this world, the only way to transport yourself from one place to another is to be imbued by their powers. And here's a great GM tool. Maybe, just maybe, they are the only beings that are able to track anyone no matter where they go, from a simple misty step to a teleportation to dimension door to planar travel. They can just pinpoint anybody in the world anywhere, because to them it's just like stepping across the room. When someone does that, to them, they can feel it. And so the most powerful kings or queens has them in their court. And whenever, an assassin tries to teleport into their world, into their throne room, these beings can just wave their hand. Like it doesn't even work near them, or they have complete control over it. So that could be a side effect of their powers, as opposed to being like the main part of their abilities. Taco Tuesday. Zed says maybe they are the result of a celestial and infernal being having a child, or having a pact with a human. You have tiefling features like the tail and horn, but it looks like a unicorn pearlescent horn. See, I always thought tieflings are more fey to me, but I like that idea as well. Tieflings don't need to. Every tiefling doesn't need to be fiendish if you change their background. So I like that. Their face goes on to say their face having imperceptible beauty with sharper teeth. Their very nature is conflicting, law and order, creating conflict and wild magics. I like that. That could be, like you said, they could be pearlescent. Some could have the traditional, like, darker, rooty skin with the more of the what we perceive as the devilish horns, like the curved ram's horns, or the spiral horns, somewhat shorter spiral horns. But maybe the ones that lean more towards the celestial side have a paler skin type, with the unicorn, like you said, unicorn styled horns, where they're far more straight and pearlescent. And reskinning their powers, maybe they're more radiant instead of infernal flame. It's more like a radiant power that allows them to do, to perform what they want. And like you said, maybe combined together, they create these wild magics. So that in effect is creating or disrupting the magic around them. They could actually, maybe there was a pact with the gods, and when the gods were creating the land and the sky and the gravity and time and energy and such, they never quite finished doing what they were supposed to do. So these beings could be descendants of the workers that were supposed to make the building blocks of reality. And so it could be that maybe it's just the fact that certain gods at certain times wanted certain things, like the god of the oceans was like, I wanted an ocean world. I didn't want it to be a physical world. So during, maybe, uh, for example, oh, I'm going down another path. Oh, no, 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 don't do that, Dave. Okay. Uh, so Zevron says, so when they cast a spell, their differing heritages pull at their being. One side wants to solve situations directly with force, while another may want to ignore a problem as it isn't the greater good. I could see that. I could see them being conflicted about their position in life and where they stand. So like you said, their heritage could pull on. Let's make an example, right? So an example could be they want to heal people injured in the battles that we talked about beforehand, but the side effect is becoming addicted to it, or they want to cause tremendous harm. They want to be in the front line of a battle and destroy their enemies, but a side effect is that maybe it causes a pacifying effect for their allies instead of encouraging their allies to be far more brutal or something. Like it could have an equal and opposite effect in the long run, and maybe they don't want that. And their heritage is something that's like you said, is pulling on them, pulling them in different directions. And it could be a physical pull, not physical. It could be a social pulling. Like maybe these beings from these other worlds are literally talking to them. Like, listen, you need to side with us. You need to stop this playing these simple mortal games and stop playing with them. You need to join our side or something like that. That would be kind of cool. And even as player characters involved in it, maybe it's their goal to convince these not these otherworldly beings, but I guess Scarlet Witchy beings to ignore their heritage and be their own person. That could be a thing. You could even make the case that maybe they are the genesis, the progenitors, the genesis of these other races, like you mentioned before about tieflings and Aasimar and Genasi. Maybe they are the progenitors of these races, and they have a connection to this powerful bloodline, right? So, similar to elves being related to Eladrin, Eldrazi, Eladrin. Um, so you could make them, although they might be long lived, they could be like why dwarves themselves have a bloodline of their own, because it might go all the way back to having a connection to the elemental plane of earth. And so they could be these diamond-like beings, and they, through touching of magic or breeding or what have you, little by little, each generation further away becomes more and more humanoid until they become part and parcel of humanity. So that could be a great story element as well. So yeah, guys, you can see that. Sure, Scarlet Witch directly. Yeah, I mean, you could make a PC with wild magic, sure, but I think we kind of went far deeper with this. Zevron says something we haven't talked about is how the public views these powers. In Civil War, she accidentally kills Wakandans in trying to move a bomb, and citizens want her blood, saying she's a murderer. That is exactly right. In the story, in the movies, let's say, dealing with the movies, she doesn't have complete control over her powers, and she's not trusted. Even, I mean, sure, they kind of quickened it up, but even with amongst the heroes, Captain America kind of is the one that's like, yeah, she should join us, and everyone else is like, really, dude? Like, she caused Hulk to go crazy and Iron Man to basically create Ultron, and you know what I mean? Like, so it could be people do want them. Their lack of control could be the thing that makes them hunted, that they're wanted, that they need to hide from society, or anyone related to their bloodline is feared, and maybe this is why Dragonborn and Tiefling and Drow are hunted in the first place. It may not be because of their actions, but it could be of the past horrors that are created in this world in the first place. You know, Zev says, imagine trying to be a player or an NPC trying their best to be a hero, but causing more and more damage. I like to play with that idea. I would love to to have an idea where, yes, the players are doing good. For example, player character heals innocent people from their wounds. Great. And then maybe there's like a lingering effect where the healing maybe even starts to transform these people or makes them overconfident. Uh, the healing makes them immune to being harmed. So they burn themselves and stab themselves, but they don't feel anything. Or maybe there's a horror element that they no longer feel anything any longer. They no longer feel joy or pain or can taste foods, or they can no longer see a sunset and feel joy from it. They no longer feel joy from seeing their family. And so now, even after being healed from their wounds, they're like traumatized by it. Like they just want to go back to the way they used to be, but they no longer have any emotional attachment anymore. So it could be like these weird lingering effects that are like darker and sinister. Zevron says, feared and attacked. Just wonder if they should even continue. Oh, they wonder if they should even continue. Maybe encouraged or discouraged by the PCs, trained to better control and gain levels. I could see that. I could very much see that. You know, pulling. Maybe the PCs are trying to pull them under their wings, a la the X-Men, finding mutants in the world who can't control their powers and kind of pulling them in, you know, embracing them into the fold, pulling them into the fold to learn to control their abilities for fear of them getting out of control. And so instead of killing the big bad, it could just be that it's just an accident, really. It's them being hunted. Maybe here's another circular logic, right? The act of being hunted causes them stress. The stress causes them to create these wild magical effects, which makes people fear them. The fear makes people hate them. The hate causes them to be hunted. So you have this circular logic thing going on. Zevron says, I'd love a Magneto NPC, one of my favorite characters. Oh, yeah, makes perfect sense, right? I mean, listen, we even circled around from Scarlet Witch back to her father, Magneto, at least in the comic books, and of course hinted at in the MCU. But yeah, but Magneto definitely could eventually be one of these individuals who has risen above and beyond his capabilities, and maybe the PCs don't realize how powerful they are until someone like a Magneto comes about. Someone says, oh God, I forgot that was her father. He sure was. And so maybe at lower levels, the PCs not fight, but they solve these lower level issues. But as they gain more power, maybe he's a like lich or demi-lich level. He's like a fiendish lord or celestial solar, planar level, right? So maybe it comes about that they find out that their father and mother exist out there, like their bloodline, they have a bloodline and an ancestry to themselves, and they still exist. So it could be maybe there's this powerful individual that was hunted many years ago, a la Magneto's origin, and they eventually start to gather this Magneto individual, like a powerful lich starts gathering their own family with them and wants to eradicate humanity or their enslaved people or whatever their plan is, and encouraging this individual could be encouraging the chaos while the PCs are fighting against the chaos that's created in their wake. Zevron says it was rumored for a bit was actually Wolverine. He was their mom before Magneto met her until they dropped that. Oh, yeah. I mean, we always do that. So anyway, guys, we've hit the hour mark. Thank you for joining me. I know Scarlet Witch is like, really? Scarlet Witch? But again, if we just think about it, get rid of the serial numbers and, wipe away the names and fill in the blanks ourselves, we can come up with some really great story ideas. So, guys, thank you very much, Zev. Always bringing the flavor. Rickard, I didn't see Dead Man always there. I'm sure I said some things that Dead Man, who always has the facts. He's also the storyteller. Zevran says, I actually really like her. She's pretty cool given decent writing. Exactly. I mean, let's be frank. Most of our favorite storylines and characters are from writers who probably were like us, that grew up with those characters and felt like they deserved better attention. So over time, it makes more sense in the long run. But at the time, sometimes when a character is first created, some of the storylines were just like, oh, we're bashing our head, like, really? They did that with that character? And then over time we go, another writer comes along and goes, no, here's how you fix it. So yeah, good writing. When someone always says, who wins in a fight? It's like, well, it depends who the writer is. You know what I mean? So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. It's the hour mark. Got to head off to work. Of course, we're doing this in celebration of Endgame. Check out anything and everything below below the video for any links to what I do and everyone else, including joining the Discord. Squirrel Girl always wins. Exactly. Checking out Critical Hit Publishing, finding out some other playlists or videos or something. I mean, hell, we do an hour. This hour live stream happens, Monday through Friday. So there's plenty of stuff out there. So if you're someone who likes to have something on in the background, do that. No matter what, that is law. The law is the squirrel always wins. All right, guys, I'll see you guys later. See you tomorrow. Bye.